Hey, it's your girl MJ and welcome to the Booty Call to Bride channel. I am your girl Michelle Tillman. Thank you guys so much for going ahead and giving this video a thumbs up, like it, share it with your friends. Like I said last week, y'all really helped me out a whole bunch by getting the views up because for some reason YouTube ain't sharing my video and the algorithm like how they used to. So I need your help. Share this video if you're enjoying these reviews and make sure you drop a comment. That helps as well. And I love to respond to comments. So if you have something to say, you don't agree, you do agree, whatever, something I missed, make sure you make a comment. So let's get started. So elephant in the room. First of all, I almost fell asleep on this episode. It was long. It felt super long. It was kind of boring. And you know what? I realized that Married at First Sight has messed me up because they had so much drama with Chris and Paige all season that this one episode with none of them, I wasn't really into it because they have just messed up my mindset of what I'm coming to expect. But anywho, this is what the show is really about. So this is the essence of the episode. Them going back. I love how they double back with Dr. Pepper to like follow up with the unanswered questions. This is episode number 14 on season 12. So I'm gonna start with Eric and Virginia because I think I have the most notes about them. So he takes her to see like back where he's from. And then he kept saying, I want her to see where I'm from because family is so important to me. But then Virginia was like, you keep saying family is so important, but you ain't even reached out to my family. You haven't talked to my dad, my sister, nobody. So I just thought it was such a good point that she called him out on that, like, hey, if family's important, my family gotta be like your family, like I need you to do a little better. And so then he had the nerve to say like, well, I didn't realize that family was so important to her. Like, you're the one who kept dropping that bomb. You're the one who kept saying things like that. So I just thought that was weird that he acted like he didn't see how it was a big deal. So then Eric calls her dad on FaceTime, but then he tells him like, okay, maybe it's just me, but I just thought it was kind of like, you told him, well, I'm calling you because Virginia said I don't call you. Instead of saying, you know what, I could do a better job of reaching out. I could do a better job of keeping in contact. Let me go ahead and start this conversation. So I know things may not be as connected as we would like them to be. So I just want to let you know that I'm here to talk. I want to talk to you more. I want to get to know you more. I thought it was so weird that he kind of like prefaced it that Virginia making me call you, so let's talk. Like, and then you know the dad was opening up a little bit about Virginia, saying, well, yeah, she's shut down or she's closed off. It'll take time for you to like break down that wall. And then when Eric was like, well, yeah, you know, but there's just certain things about marriage that I just kind of feel like are standards. And then her dad, was like, but every marriage doesn't look the same. And that was like the theme of this episode that Eric does not seem to get. He just kind of wanted everyone to agree with him that, well, there's certain standards in marriage. And I get what he's saying, but he never presents his side properly. So Virginia also met with Eric's sister-in-law. And the sister-in-law, they was having fun at first, talking about we making margaritas. Cute. And then she was basically saying like, oh yeah, the fact that she want to go hang out with all the friends all the time, he ain't gonna like that. Or the fact that you're not putting him first, you want to put him third, that ain't gonna work. And Virginia's like, well, it's gonna take me time to put him first. Okay, I get it, but if you don't even want to put him first when you first meet him, girl, when you gonna put him first? And the one thing I can agree with Eric on is this: she can't get past the fact that staying at your guy friend's house is not going to be cool with your husband. I don't know anybody's husband who's like, yeah, go sleep on the couch at your homeboy's house. Go ahead. And she's like, well, what if you're out of town and there's a storm and then there's cats and dogs everywhere? And then like she's just making up all this extravagant story. And he was like, really? All those circumstances? Like on that part, I was on Eric's side like, sis, why are you so like planning and so hell-bent on the fact of I'm gonna get so wasted where I'm gonna have to stay there. How about just don't get that wasted? How about just take your butt home? Like, I don't understand why she wants that to be an option so bad, to be able to stay at another guy friend's house. That just seems so weird to me. I mean, what do y'all think? Am I tripping? Because I just don't know any husbands who are like cool with that. So one of the things that Dr. Pepper told them to do was to write down their goals for their marriage and then talk about what actions they can take to get to them. And even that landed them in another argument. And Dr. Pepper had told them before, like, you can't just start sweeping stuff on the road. Like, you got to address these issues. But it's like they get in arguments about the wrong things. So that's them. Brianna and Vincent, I really liked them this episode. She did mention again to clarify, like, no, I do want children. Yes, I do want to have them on my own, but I do understand that there's a risk. And I don't think that the risks that come along with pregnancy should be diminished by the producers, by anybody. Like, this, having a high-risk pregnancy is not anything to play with. But like Vincent said, you can do research. There are things that she could begin doing, precautionary measures she can take. And if that's something she decides she wants to go through with for the sake of having her own child, then so be it. Maybe they could also look into a surrogate where she doesn't actually have to have the baby, but it's still like both of their genes, coming together. So maybe that's an option. She also started talking about how when she was growing up, she went down the straight and narrow, and how she wanted to be a dancer, but she thought an engineer would make more money. And depending on who you're dancing for, it's a small chance that you'd be making anywhere near that engineering money. It's just two different type of lifestyles, like the artist, and then there's the engineers. Like, those are two different pathways, two different types of people usually. But I see where she kind of like felt conflicted, like, this is still something I love, which that could be a hobby. And if she wants to pursue it further later, at least she has the money from her engineering career to like further that if that's something she decides to do. Then, okay, so when they met with Dr. Pepper, she was like, well, what do you feel about her not physically giving birth? And, what about adoption? And Vincent was like, I ain't never thought about that. I have to think about it. Like, he don't like the thought of not having his own kids. And I think that because of how he grew up, he took her to the Dominican store and, talking Spanish. Do you want this? And do you want these foods? And she's talking about she's gonna have to learn how to cook all over again. I guess a different type of food. I think he just cherishes it so much because he didn't have his father in his life. And I think it would just be a hard pill to swallow to even think about the fact that he might not have his own kids. And I just think that if he's not saying it, he really needs to actually say, I will be with you regardless. That is what I think she needs to hear if he hasn't said it. Maybe he said it off camera, but those are the words that a woman who is in fear of birth or fear about her ability to get pregnant or anything like that, they just want to hear you say you're going to stick with them regardless. And she says she hopes it's not a deal breaker. And that's basically what I'm saying. Like, she just wants to know that this is not a deal breaker. Ryan and Claire, they just have... Ryan was so excited to meet with her mom, and like they seem to really hit it off. Claire's mom really likes Ryan, and even with how they're talking about they want to raise kids, she was like, Claire might not even realize that she actually does want her kids in that church upbringing, and that she herself didn't even go to church until Claire was like 5 months old, and she began going because she wanted that to be a part of her life. So I think that sounds good, but I hope she's not giving Ryan false hope that she will change. But the whole other thing that was so weird, Ryan, I just don't understand why he thinks he is just like husband of the year, because he would just basically like, I don't want to start saying I love you, throwing it around and making it not mean anything. Saying I love you to somebody frequently does not diminish what it means. It means what it means. And Dr. Pepper had an amazing point. Like, if this was the last conversation I had with my husband or my child, I want to make sure that I said that I love them and that they know. And I know you don't have to say it for someone to know, but I just think that it's so weird that he's so concerned about it diminishing its power over time. Like, if you love someone, it changes, it develops over the years as you get to know them. But I don't understand why he's such in fear of that. It's like he's waited so long for love and sex. I do, because I do believe he's a virgin. Some people saying he's gay and all this, but I believe he's just a penetration virgin. But like, I think he's just making it harder and making it more, not saying that sex isn't a big deal, but like, he's just doing the most. And I don't know how to explain it. Like if you grew up in a faith community where, you know, true love waits and purity meant a lot, which like I grew up in that community, so I kind of understand some of the dynamics that go along with it, but I still feel like maybe he just wants to see if they're gonna make it until decision day, and then he'll be like, okay, now I'm gonna do it. Like, I don't want to get a divorce and then have had sex with you, because I think that's important to him, because he is a virgin and he don't want to have given sex to her if it's not gonna actually work out. I think that's why he's holding back. That's it, and I'm gonna leave it at that. So Clara said also she felt weird and awkward after talking to Dr. Pepper together. She wrote herself the letter to her 13-year-old self, and she was all deep and telling herself to, you know, stay strong. And then, you know, Ryan, his letter was all about, which is everything you did was perfect, and don't change a thing. And yeah, weird. So last but certainly not least, Haley and Jake. So Haley and Jake was going back and forth. Let's just go ahead and talk about the bracelet. Like, everything else, okay, they played putt-putt. They, what else did they do? They talked about how he wore his dress shoes and they went into the batting cage. And yeah, it is weird to wear your dress shoes to those places. It's very weird. Jake is like, he just doesn't like tennis shoes. What do you mean? Like, what? I mean, he has to make pretty good money when he does, so it's not like you can't afford tennis shoes. Like, you ain't find no tennis shoes you don't like. That's just weird. And then the whole thing about the bracelet. Okay, what do y'all think about the bracelet? Because on one hand, Dr. Pepper was like, but he thought about you and the position you would play in his life before he even met you. And he bought this bracelet that was a significant amount of money, I guess, to him, or maybe he doesn't buy things like that. And then there's the other part of it to where, why you spend money on something that it would be so offensive to you that if somebody doesn't wear it, like she didn't wear it down the aisle, which she said she was rushing and all this, I don't know. So that could be offensive that he took the whole process and it's finally happening and I got you something to wear down the aisle and you don't wear it. He's probably looking for that, and I get that, but to keep throwing in her face and saying how much it costs, like I am under the impression that Haley's family probably does pretty well, so they're like, you read about this little $800 bracelet? Like, to them that probably is nothing, and I think to him it was just such a big deal. And I agree a little bit with Haley's mom, like that's tacky to keep saying how much it costs, but I still think she's diminishing like his feelings, and like Dr. Pepper said, she has totally rejected him on so many levels, and she has to realize, like, has she really put the effort forward? Which I just think they're just not compatible as far as the type of lifestyle they live, even the way they dress, the way they act. Like, he's just weird for no reason, like making up the names for the putt-putt. I think he was Bear and Dragon or something to like, yeah, Eagle and Dragon. I was just like, and then when she was like, well, what's the score? Well, Eagle has 29 and Dragon has 23. Like, just weird for no reason. And she's just not gonna be with somebody like that. And I think she just checked out. And then she even talked about how she had to stay in sports as a child because we just had to see it to the end. And basically, to me, that was her way of saying, you know what, I'm just seeing this marriage to the end. I'm not running away from the process, but you know, ain't nothing gonna work out between us. Yeah, so he was being petty about that bracelet, and I think he need to go ahead and take that bracelet back to the store. I hope you got the receipt, because you are really concerned with the $800. And I'm not saying that $800 is not a lot of money. I get it, but you ain't paid for nothing in this whole process. Like, you get a free place to stay, you know, food. Like, dude, it didn't work out. That's it. It didn't work out. So anyways, this episode was awful and boring. So I hope this review wasn't awful and boring, but please let me know what you think about everything in the comments, and I will see y'all next week. Bye.